My name is Greg Miller. I am one of the sixth grade boys small group leaders, and not just these two guys who are super close up front here, but I think I see a couple more out there. There's John and Corey, some of my other co-leaders. Matt is back running the sound. We got a great group, and I'm also one of the captains here at New Life Students, which just means I get to kind of help lead over your leaders. And, thank you. Thanks, Becky. Yeah, thank you. So it's an honor to, I love you guys too. It's an honor to serve here. So we are in a series called What is Love, as you could tell from the little bump video. And we've been going over the 4 different types of love as seen in the Greek language. So Alvin kicked us off with week 1, talking about agape love, which is God's love for mankind. That's the kind of love that really God displays for his children and for those that he made. And then Justin continued the series speaking on storge love. I think I pronounced it right. I don't know. I don't speak Greek. But storge love, which essentially is the love for that parents have for their children, and it's like the familial love, that family love. And then I will be continuing the series talking about Phileo love. I almost said Phileo, but it's Phileo. I've learned the pronunciation like literally in the leaders meeting, so hopefully I don't slip up. But Phileo love, which is the love of one's friends or equals, and it's better known as brotherly love. Now I, for those of you who don't know, am an older brother to 2 younger sisters. Sophia, I don't know where she's sitting, in the back there. Yeah, whoop whoop. She is my youngest sister. She is incredibly talented at art, not to put you on the spot, Sophia, but she's incredibly talented at art. I say all the time that of all of us Millers, she is definitely the highest creative. So super, super cool talents that she has. She's also really good at singing. She's got a beautiful voice. You, I'm sure, have seen her up here on the stage for worship, and she's awesome to hang out with. I love her. I also have the middle sibling is Maddie. She is... she's something else. She and I, we kind of go back and forth a little bit, but she is super fun to be around, and she's super funny. She loves to make you laugh, and it's honestly cool to hang out with her. She does get under my skin, but I love both of my sisters to death. Honestly, for those of you who don't know, and what I would like all of you to know is that I would do just about anything for my sisters. I really hold that relationship near and dear to my heart, especially to make sure that they are protective. If you've spent any time with me, you know this to be true. And there are very few relationships on this earth that I value the same as my relationship with my sisters. So, that said, as the Bible uses the word phileo love, it's referring to the love of friendship, the love of equals, or that brotherly love. And so I see this as being kind of twofold. Brotherly love, or phileo love, it can be seen in relationships like that I have with my siblings, or for those of you who have siblings, older or younger, you guys kind of know what that's like. If you're an only child, good news is you can still experience phileo love because it's not exclusive to like a biological relationship. And we see this in the Bible. The same level of connection can exist between people who aren't related. We see this throughout the Old and the New Testament. In the book of Romans, chapter 12, verse 10, Paul says, "Let love be genuine. Abhor what is evil. Hold fast to what is good. Love one another with brotherly affection. Outdo one another in showing honor. Do not be slothful in zeal. Be fervent in spirit. Serve the Lord." That is Romans 12, 9 through 11. In this New Testament passage, what we see is that loving one another, specifically as mentioned here with a brotherly love, is an act of service. It says right here, love one another with brotherly affection, and then actually, be fervent in spirit, serve the Lord. So by loving with that kind of love, that brotherly love, it's actually an act of service, and we see that. Paul wrote this letter to the Christians in Rome who had a great sense of brotherhood. See, the bonds of brotherhood and the brotherly love for one's country ran deep in Roman culture. So the letter that he was writing to the Roman church, they would have understood this very well because there was a great sense of like national pride and like we are bonded together, like we are one people, we are brothers. And so the people he was writing this letter to would have understood that very well, even though they weren't actually like biologically related. They had an understanding of what it meant to have that brotherly love. And this is the same kind of love that Jesus lived out, the way that he showed phileo love to his disciples as well as you and I. So as we talk about Jesus in the context of Phileo love, there are a couple important points that I would like to preface with. What we will read here shortly is that Jesus calls his followers his friends. So it's not that he says we are no longer enemies of God, but we are his friends. And there's other verses that tell us that we're his friends as well. But when Jesus walked this earth, there were 12 people that were closest with him. So even though we are his friends, he had kind of like this core friend group, kind of like this inner circle. And those were the 12 disciples. Those were the people that he did life with, he had meals with, he traveled all around with. He called them out of their way of life, out of what they were living with their family, and they completely left everything and followed him. That's what Mark talked about in his message during Venue. If you guys weren't there, he gave an awesome message, and it was about leaving everything to follow Jesus. And so his disciples did that, and they were his inner circle. They got to get firsthand teachings from Jesus that most other people didn't have the opportunity to. There were crowds, and there were people who followed him in big groups, but they were the inner circle. So they got a little bit more. And so what the disciples experienced firsthand was that the people you hang out with, your closest friends, determine the type of person that you are. And we see that because their lives radically change after they decided to follow Jesus. Jesus was the person who they put all of their trust into. He was their rabbi and their teacher. And so it changed who they were. And so the same will happen with us. The people that we hang out with will change who we are. And this takes us to our take-home point, which is one of the points that I would like you to kind of remember from this, because it's an important thing that we can apply to our lives. But it says, your inner circle must influence your relationship with God in a positive way. And so the people who are closest with you should be people who share your beliefs in the Bible, share your beliefs in God, and call Jesus their Lord and Savior. Your closest friends should be that. But that doesn't mean that you can't be friends with people who aren't believers. My personal opinion, I think it's healthy for us to have friends who are non-believers, because it gives us an opportunity to share our love and our light of Jesus with them. And so if we didn't have any friends who didn't know Jesus, then who would we talk to Jesus about? But that said, I think there is something to be said that the people who are closest to you should point you back to Christ, and they should help keep you accountable. I just mentioned a little bit ago that Jesus calls us friends, and this is the scripture specifically that I'm referring to. In the book of John, Jesus says, "As the Father has loved me, so I have loved you. Now remain in my love. If you keep my commands, you will remain in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commands and remain in his love. I have told you this so that my joy may be in you and that your joy may be complete. My command is this: love each other as I have loved you. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. You are my friends if you do what I command. I no longer call you servants, because a servant does not know his master's business. Instead, I have called you friends. For everything that I learned from my Father, I have made known to you. You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you so that you might go and bear fruit that will last. And so that whatever you ask in my name, the Father will give you. This is my command: love each other." So I think it's pretty straightforward. I don't really know that there's much that I need to expound on there. Jesus is pretty clear that he calls us his friends, that he loves us in a way that is intimate, that's dear. There's that bond, that connection, that Phileo love, that brotherly love. I'm not Jesus' biological brother, but that's what he calls me. That's what he calls you. And that's something that I think that we need to take serious. It's a powerful message, and I just want you to kind of ponder on that for a moment, what it means to be in a relationship like that with Jesus, a brotherly relationship, a relationship where he would do literally anything for you. And spoiler alert, he did. And so the events of John chapter 15, the passage that we just read, they are prior to Jesus' crucifixion on the cross and the resurrection from the dead. And this part, if you guys tune in, is super, super cool. This is one of the many examples of Jesus foreshadowing the sacrifice that he was going to make on the cross. And here's the thing. I don't know about you, but if there is a man who claims to be God, predicts that he's going to die, and then rise from the dead, and then he actually pulls it off, I'm going to bet my life on that man. And that's exactly what Jesus did here. That's exactly what happened. And the cool thing is, he pulls it off, but why is it that we should be excited about that? Well, because Jesus did exactly what he said he was going to. On top of that, he calls us all friends. So I kind of like to think about Scripture sometimes as like an equation. Like if you take this, you can kind of like equate it to this, and then it kind of reveals a little bit more of the equation, and you get like this broader picture. And so what I like to look at is, okay, very clearly Jesus says that we're his friends. And we just read a little bit ago that he said there is no greater love than to lay one's life down for his friends. Well, that was well before he was crucified. That was well before he was turned over and hung on the cross. So I think it's super cool that he came to the earth, that he lived a perfect life, and then he said, hey, just so you guys know, you're my friends. I see you as being a brother with me. But what's going to happen is that I'm going to die. And so you know, there's no greater love than to lay your life down for your friends. I'm going to die and I'm going to rise from the dead. And then you're going to be able to have a relationship with my Father. And honestly, the disciples, time and time again, this wasn't the only instance that Jesus alluded to or specifically said that he was going to die and then rise from the dead. And they were just like almost always just dumbfounded by it. Some of them like straight up were like, no, you can't do that. Like, I'll die with you. I'll die for you. Like, yeah. And so there's plenty of examples of that. And then he actually did it, solidifying what he said, that there's no greater love than to lay your life down for a friend. He actually like walked the walk whenever he talked the talk. So I think it's super cool. It kind of gives this broader picture of what the story of Jesus and his life looks like. So maybe you're listening and it's like, okay, like what we read kind of makes sense. Like I don't really have a full understanding of like their culture, and like I don't know like this Jesus guy or his disciples. Like some of it makes sense, but maybe not. And the cool thing is the Bible can be really difficult to understand, but Jesus himself knew that. He knew that the truths, like the absolute truths from his Father would be hard for us to grasp, hard for us to intellectualize. And so he spoke in stories, parables is what they were, as a way to make the truths of his Father easier to understand. And I got to say, I love stories. Specifically, I like movies. See, my mom and I, well, my mom started working at the movie theater well before I did. I worked there for like a year. But from whenever I was 8 years old until like I graduated high school, my mom worked at the theater. So we always got in for free movies. It was super cool. We got to go see them early and stuff. It was like super dope because like the first Marvel movie, Iron Man, like I saw that like a day before anybody else saw it. And I was like 8. I was like, man, this is cool. And then basically it followed suit with everyone after that. But the reason why I like movies so much isn't just because that's what our family did, but there's something about the way that movies tell stories that I connect with so deeply. And I really love that. There's some way that they can express feelings to communicate what it is that I think and feel that I can't necessarily say and put into words properly. It's like I almost have to just show what it is. Like, yeah, this is what I'm talking about. Like, I love this scene. I love this interaction between the characters and the dialogue. Like, it pulls out this emotion inside of me. So that said, I pulled together a short video of clips from different movies that I think really express this Phileo love in a way that is, even though these movies aren't Christian per se, I think it displays the Phileo love, the brotherly love that Jesus shows every one of us. So you guys can go ahead and enjoy this video I threw together. Here we go.
Thanks. Thank you.
Hey, Dr. Steak. Hooray, this is tomorrow's newspaper. Precisely.
There is a house built out of stone, wooden floors, walls, and window sills.
What is your profession?
Tables and chairs warmed by all of the dust. This is a place where I don't feel alone.
That's a question.
This is a place where I feel at home.
I love you guys.
Thank you. All right, let's do this.
saying this is the end of a beautiful friendship. Well, for me, it's just the beginning. Pick it up.
It's just the kind of time we needed. 2 bandits on the run.
Oh, yeah!
Oh, yeah, partner. Come on.
Odd Oak is my friend.
Yeah, well, I got lots of friends.
I don't.
Don't do anything stupid till I get back.
How can I? You're taking all this stupid with you.
No, Groot!
You'll die.
Why are you doing this?
Why?
Stop it.
What's up, bitch?
You fell into that nightmare, Master, and I rescued you, remember?
Okay, I thought the world of you. I thought we were gonna fight side by side forever, but at the end of the day, you're you and I'm me. And
Are you even pulling? Are you on my team? Just represent, pull.
all right, let's go.
I can't believe a year ago my purpose in life was hunting you down. And now,
we're friends.
yeah, we are friends.
I would have followed you, my brother.
Tell her that when you found me, I was here, and I was with the only brothers that I have left. And there's no way I was gonna desert them.
Yeah, P for L, baby. P for L. It comes out on Thursday. Do you guys know that? Third season? Heck yeah. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that and kind of got something from it. The idea is that, connecting with those characters helps you understand what having that brotherly love is kind of like. So one last thing before we go to small group, because we got a couple more minutes here, but I think it's very important to know that you cannot love without being a servant. And what we see a lot of times in movies is that whenever these people have these tight bonds with each other, there's this level of sacrifice that they have, and it's pretty inexplicable. It's something that you have to learn. It's something that Jesus teaches. And Jesus lived that out, and he calls his followers and his friends to lead as well. In the book of Mark, Jesus says this, "Not so with you. Instead, whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant, and whoever wants to be first must be slave of all. For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many." It's a beautiful thing. There can be moments in your life when it's really hard to love your friends and your families and your strangers, but the strangers that you meet. But if we are to live the way that Jesus lived, the way that he has called us to live, we have to put those things behind us. We have to humble ourselves and love the way that a servant does. Love as an act of service, the Phileo love. I believe that that's what Phileo love is, laying down one's life for one's friends. We saw clips in those movies that there's plenty of sacrifice that happens whenever you love somebody. I mean, you're willing to go to the extent of losing your life to make sure that they're kept safe. That's a beautiful love, and that's the love that Jesus showed us. Before we wrap up completely, I wanted to share an extra little story just to let you guys know, like outside of my siblings, the type of Phileo love that I've experienced firsthand. And my buddy Caleb, There's a period in my life about a year and a half ago that was pretty tough. And long story short, I had to live with him and his family for about a month while I was looking for an apartment. And there was this night where we were hanging out in his room. We were just playing games, and he has this really big beanbag, like one of those Zorbies. And I was laying down on the Zorby, and I got this phone call. And the phone call went on for, I don't know, about 20 minutes. And I hung up the phone, and I just wept. Like, I just laid there and just wept in my hands. And Caleb was sitting over at his desk a couple feet away, and he goes, "Hey, brother, are you okay?" I said, "No, nah, I'm not okay." And he just sat there. He didn't try to fix my problems. He didn't try to tell me what I could do to help change things or make things better. He just sat there as I cried. Intentionally, though. He did it intentionally to show me just that love and that support. Like, hey, like, I'm here for you. Like, I don't know what it is that you're going through. I don't need to know. If you just need somebody to sit next to you, that's what I'll do. That's Phileo love. And honestly, I look back on that time, and that month where I was with him and his family was one of the greatest times over the last couple of years. Mainly because I had that support from him, that like unconditional, hey, like, I'm not going to judge. I'm just going to be here and be a friend. And that's what Jesus does with us. Like, he just comes and he says, hey, if you need to sit down and just cry, if you just need to sit down and just talk about what's happening, like, I'm just here to listen. And then when you're ready, we can work. We can, get some changes going in your life, changes that I offer, the freedom and the love that I give. So that said, your small group leaders also do that, which is what small group is all about, is them sitting there, getting to know what's going on in your life, loving you, and expressing that kind of love just to be there with you. So going into small group, we have a next step, which you guys can talk about. And as we talked, loving in the Phileo love is an act of service, and it's an act of humility and sacrifice. And so the next step is, I will love and serve the people in my life, even when it hurts. So if that's something that you want to commit to doing, not just this week, but just as a rhythm in your life, something that's ongoing, then would you say it with me? I will love and serve the people in my life, even when it hurts.